So we're so happy that you all are here tonight. We are completely sold out, so just know that you guys are really VIP. Okay, y'all. For real, why y'all VIP? Okay, just making sure. All right. Okay, so tonight I am Ronika Williams. You will be hearing from Nathan Margoni pretty soon. So I am your host for tonight. You will be hearing from 9 amazing presenters tonight. But if you are, is this anyone's first time here at PechaKucha? Oh, newbies! Yay! Welcome. So PechaKucha is actually the sound of chit chat in Japanese, so it originates in Japan, and we are in over 1,500 cities across the globe. So if you ever want to just check out PechaKucha.org, that's actually where all the presentations will be uploaded in about 2 to 3 weeks after they present tonight. So, but I know if you were thinking like, not Pikachu, PechaKucha. So tonight you will be seeing, so each presentation is 20 slides and it's 20 seconds per slide. So each presentation will be 6 minutes and 40 seconds long. So just be in for a wild ride for the next about 90 minutes or so. So tonight, as I said, you will be seeing 9 presenters. 9. There's no special theme tonight. They're just coming to bring their passion projects and present it to you all. And we know that you all are just excited to be here and hear from all of our presenters. So we're actually excited to be back at the Box Factory tonight. So thank you so much for hosting us. Thank you so very much. I also want to give a shout out to our behind the scenes team. So who's a part of putting this all together? So if you are in the building and I say your name, but also our names will be up here, but we have Lana who's right here, wave, all right. We got Matthew over here, woo-woo. We got Nathan Margoni over here. And I am Ronika Williams, but we also, where's Chris? Where's Chris? Chris is on sound back there. So all of us put this together, and Mark is actually absent tonight, so he's actually a part of actually helping our presenters put their presentations together. So let's give a round of applause for everyone that's a part of putting this together. All right, so I also want to say thank you to Krazzle. We are in strong partnership with Krazzle Art. And just know that a couple of things are coming down the pipeline, so be looking out for their calendar. It's Krazzle.org, right? Krazzle.org. All right, because they have classes starting January 24th, so, I mean, be sure to sign up for those, because I'm going to sign up too. All right, so everyone has a story to tell, and our next event is actually in May. So we will be inviting, if you are an artist, if you're a hobbyist, if you're a Renaissance, or you just want to share a passion project, you too can be up here sharing your story. Do not be afraid, because it's a lot of their first times is going to be coming up here today. So you have those little butterflies, but just know it's a great experience, especially when you get to do it with other people. So it's amazing. All right, so our theme that has emerged for tonight is optimism, self-improvement, and reflecting on the year and rebirth. So I'm going to bring Nathan to the stage. He is our MC for the evening. And he might do a little special something for us too. I mean, if you guys want Nathan to do something a little special? I'm just saying. Okay. All right, so Nathan, come on up here.
Okay. Thanks, Ronika.
Yeah, you want.
Oh, you stand?
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna do.
I'm gonna, yeah. You ready? Let's go.
Thanks, Ronika. You're the best host. Yes. I'm gonna do a cartwheel. Yeah. Because COVID has ruined a lot of things, but it hasn't ruined cartwheels. And I stretched, so it should be fine. Oh, I'm supposed to remind you all to turn off your cell phones or turn them down. Don't be that person. Y'all ready to get started? I'm very excited about our first presenter, Esther Ikoro. The title of her presentation is, So Why Are You Doing This? And Esther is a nature-loving science nerd with a passion for comedy. When she's not hiking, camping, or canoeing, she's sharing her curiosity by explaining natural phenomena on her show, See You Outside. She is also a mystery guide for Discovery Education's Mystery Science. So please welcome Esther Ikoro.
I don't know how I'm going to top that cartwheel, but I'm going to try.
You ready?
So hey everyone, I'm Esther. I've got 3 stories to share with you. Let's get started. First of all, I love the outdoors. I love hiking, camping, canoeing, as you've heard, but most recently I've gotten really into jet skis. And every time I'm doing some sort of outdoor activity, especially on the water, I'm always thinking to myself, what are you doing, Esther? You cannot swim. And like any normal person, I would just cram this voice down and be like, okay, I'm being safe, I'm wearing a life vest, I'm usually surrounded by really strong swimmers, and if all else fails, I'll just latch onto something and not let go. So last summer, I was on a jet ski with my friend Megan, and she started doing donuts. And I was having the time of my life. I mean, at one point, I was actually like, you know what? I should get a jet ski. But somewhere in between doing donuts, I lost my balance, and because I was holding on to her super tight, we flew off the jet ski. And so we're sailing through the air, and right before I hit Lake Michigan, I think to myself, you know what? I should probably learn how to swim. And that's where my journey began. So I signed up for classes, private classes at the YMCA, and became a child again. I mean, really, if you want to feel like a child, just go to the YMCA at 8 a.m. and watch senior citizens swim laps around you like they're training for the Olympics. It is a very humbling experience, but it's also a very freeing experience. So because I didn't have the muscle memory of already knowing how to swim, I had no choice but to focus on swimming. Like, I couldn't think about how ridiculous I looked or who might be looking at me. I had no choice but to focus on moving my body and learning to float and breathe and just be singularly focused, and that was amazing. Second story. I love vintage cars, and I've always wanted to learn to drive stick because that's kind of like a rite of passage for people who love vintage cars. This is not a stick car, it's not a manual transmission, it's actually a Honda del Sol that we used to have. It's so tiny that you can take the roof off by yourself and put it in the trunk, but love that car. But unfortunately, it eventually bit the dust, so I had my eye out for another little tiny summer car, and I came across this Pontiac Solstice that I'd never heard of, and it had a for sale sign, and when I looked in the window, it was a manual transmission, and I thought, now's my chance to learn manual. So my father-in-law actually drove it home for me, and he promised that he would teach me how to drive stick. Now, I thought that he was gonna teach me on the car that I purchased, but he pulled up in this red Chevy S10. And I never noticed, because I see him driving this all the time, I never noticed that it had a gear stick that was sticking out of the floor, and he was like, hop in. And I was like, okay, thank you. You have not lived until you've pulled up to a blind hill at a stop sign in a Chevy S10 with multiple lanes of traffic in front of you and a car directly behind you. Let's just say it's a great way to learn. And so, after we did that a couple of times, one day of a lesson, thanks Bob, after we did that a couple of times and zipped around in my car a couple of times, he was like, all right, you're on your own, you need to practice. Turns out the only way to practice is in public, on the road, with other people that don't care that I'm on this journey of learning, you know what I mean? And everybody was like, oh, you have to get the feel of the car. It's a muscle memory thing, right? And you just have to do it, stop sign after stop sign, hill after hill, and I did that slowly and slowly and slowly. I even woke up at 4 a.m. until everybody stopped honking at me. Third story. I love nature. Some people can tell you everything about basketball, some people can tell you everything about history. I can tell you about a parasite that crawls into a fish's mouth and pretends to be its tongue. It's kind of my thing, right? Like, I grew up on Planet Earth and Bill Nye the Science Guy and Magic School Bus. Have you heard of it? Yeah, and I love the way that these shows always had their own unique perspective and voice and way of pulling you into the science story. And I always thought to myself, man, I can have a science show. So I actually started my own show called See You Outside, and a lot of time and energy and research goes into this show, right? But ultimately, it is really about learning to tell science stories, right? So I've got a couple of episodes up there, but none of them have actually gone viral, and I don't care because the community that has been forming around this content, from people showing me pictures of them showing it to their classroom, to people telling me that they watch it with their kids and telling me which one's their favorite one. Like, this amazing community of science-loving nerds have kind of gathered around me, and I love it. So what have I learned from all this? Well, first of all, I've learned that there's supposed to be this underlying shame that's attached to trying new things in public. Like, we all have this someday I'd like to list in our head, and if we're honest with ourselves, most of the time the reason we don't pursue those things is because we are afraid of looking like a rookie to ourselves and to other people. And unfortunately, reality, society signals to us that we need this like preemptive social validation. Like, if I already have 1 million views on my video, if I'm already good, if I'm already famous, it'll somehow soothe the shame of starting from square one. And it sounds like a foregone conclusion that you shouldn't care what people think, but let's be honest, like, we're all kind of living with these social constraints without, even if we don't think that we are. Like, we all know people who post on social media because they care too much about what other people think. In my journey, I've actually met more people who don't post on social media because they don't want people to think that they care too much about what other people think. Just like, but you're doing the same thing that they're doing. Even if they have something that they want to share, even if they have something they're proud of, even if they're championing a noble cause or like want to connect with a community or grow their business, it's almost like this idea that people will think that you're trying too hard, or this idea that, better yet, people won't care what you're doing because you have 0 likes, stops them from wanting to try at all. Now, recently, like last year, I got a message from someone that said, "Hey, Esther, I really love your show. I've been sharing it with my company Slack channel. Our chief of content would really like to talk to you." Turns out she works for a show called Mystery Science as part of Discovery Education, and now I get to share science stories and help bring science lessons to kids all across the United States. Now, I'm not saying that doing your someday it would be nice to thing is gonna lead to national superstardom among science-loving kids. But the act of going from someday to today is a really special one, and it's one that translated to all parts of my life, even before this mystery science thing. Now, I can't really tell you where you should start on your journey, and I honestly can't even tell you if you should share it, but what I can say is the act of actually doing it, not just talking about it, being about it, is a really special one, and I really wish I could give everyone that feeling of starting, trying, and practicing in public. Thank you.
That was awesome. What a great start. Thank you, Esther. I'm one of those people who doesn't post stuff because I don't want you to think I care. Watch out, Facebook. Here I come. Our second presenter is Carly Hubers. She's a friend of mine. Hey, Carly. The title of her presentation is But Wait, There's More. And hold on here. Carly was born and raised in Southeast Michigan. She is a Hope College graduate with an MA from Western Theological Seminary. She has experience working in higher education, teaching students about social justice, sustainability, and community engagement. She is currently loving her job at St. Joe today and is a youth ministry director in town. She serves on the board of directors at the Out Center and spends her free time with her husband, Jeff, and dog, Coda. Please welcome Carly Hubers.
Nathan, I kind of thought Coda was going to get more of a shout out.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Awesome. Okay, I'm ready. All right, so I have to be completely honest with all of you. I really struggled trying to pick a topic for PechaKucha. Not because I was nervous to come up here and share with all of you, but because I had 100 different ideas, and ultimately, every time I would think about something, I felt like there wasn't going to be enough time to share with you about the thing I cared so much about. I kept saying to myself, wait, there's more I want to say. And I realized the more that I thought about it, I absolutely hate the feeling of, wait, there's more I want to say. This is more complicated. And I didn't feel like 20 seconds per slide could really fit all of these things that I cared so deeply about. I couldn't help but think about one of the times I felt that so deeply, which was when I had the chance to teach a social justice class for a small college in South Dakota. It was a lot of these students' first time hearing about social justice, and there was a lot of material to cover, and I felt a lot of weight as a new professor. But the main point that I really wanted all of my students to take away from the class was that social justice is really complicated. There are lots and lots of levels, and people have stories and voices behind all of these topics, but it's our responsibility as educated civilians to do our best to understand these topics and dive in. And so the time came for final projects. Students were required to pick a social justice topic and educate some part of their community about the topic. They could show a documentary to their friends in their dorm. They could ask their family to come to a march or maybe a nonprofit. But the point was to educate and dive a little deeper into these topics. I was excited until one of my students turned in his final project. And it was a poster campaign that went all over the campus library with giant lettering that said, 3 simple steps for getting out of poverty. Oof. Yeah. I forget what the 3 simple steps were. I'm sure I would be a millionaire by now and the world would be a better place. But needless to say, I was really crushed as a professor and I felt like I had failed him. Obviously, something like poverty or any social justice issue is so much more complicated. And as I thought about PechaKucha tonight, I was feeling really worried that any topic I shared with you, I wouldn't be able to explain and not do enough justice for. So obviously I still had to come up here and talk about something. So I got to thinking a little more and I realized that there are a lot of snapshot and tiny moments in my life that I do care a lot about. Photography is a really big thing for me. I do that as a hobby on the side. There are photographs all over my house. I love icebreaker games and personality quizzes. And I started to wonder if there's some value to these snapshot moments that we occasionally experience in our life. And my husband and I got a really cool opportunity to try out one of these snapshot moments this last year. We downloaded an app where we got to record a 1-second video every single day for 2021. And at the end of 2021, these little tiny sneak peek teaser trailer moments were compiled into one giant video to share with family and friends and ourselves. And it ended up being pretty cool. It was tiny little 1-second moments throughout our year. Maybe it was sharing a meal with friends or something simple like walking our dog or watching Survivor. No shame there. A lot of Survivor. But ultimately, it was a pretty cool thing to see at the end of the year. And I will say, as cool as the final video was, the real interesting part was the process. Because we had to pick 1 second in our day that we felt like showed who we were that day. And it was something that we valued that day. And like I mentioned before, sometimes it wasn't really anything super special. It was just a second of us walking outside or a bird that we saw. The idea was that we were supposed to slow down and decide what we valued that day. And ultimately, the compilation of 1 second every single day sort of gave this sneak peek into our lives. And it was a process for us. But what was pretty cool is that our friends and family and people who watched the video, I felt like got a good little sneak peek into who we are as a tiny little family. Coda's taken center stage again. Ultimately, though, I did feel like it was a pretty accurate sneak peek. And as I reflected on this and got ready for PechaKucha, I was excited to think about the fact that snapshot moments could give an accurate sneak peek into something much bigger. It reminded me of a game that I played in college with my friends. We called it top half or bottom half. And I promise it's not as inappropriate as it sounds. The idea is that people will name a random object in the world, or maybe even a concept, and your job is to decide if it's in the top half of things in your life that you like, or the bottom half of things in your life that you like of all things in the world. So it could be as random as mac and cheese, that's a top half thing for me, or riding your bike, or a rainy day, and the idea was to get people to respond and see what their likes and dislikes were. So I'll give you an example. Give me thumbs up or thumbs down for you personally. One thing for me, pineapple pizza, definite thumbs up. Oh my gosh, I'm offended, okay. It's a definite top half for me, and I feel really strongly. Fun part about the game is some people don't really carry their way. Maybe it's a bottom half thing. It's like, meh, the bottom 50%. Maybe people will throw in something a little deeper, like classic rock, per se. It's a bottom half for me. I'm told this is Jimmy Page. I don't know for sure. Jeffrey told me that. I'm sorry. But you get the idea. And obviously, this game is 100% a tiny little snapshot into somebody's likes or dislikes. It's really only a teaser trailer. I really like that phrase. Into somebody's life and what they're about. But I think that's okay. I think there's some really cool value into something like a snapshot. Maybe it's a profile picture. Maybe it's a 1-second video every day for the year. But I think what those snapshot moments really give us the opportunity to do is to be invited into a relationship, to be invited into something bigger. And maybe to take all of those tiny little snapshot moments is an opportunity to see what bigger picture is being painted for all of us. Ultimately, I thought of the puzzle pieces. At the beginning of my presentation, that's sort of how my brain felt before I came up here. And I started to realize that those tiny little snapshot moments, even if they were a second, even if they were Jimmy Page or pineapple on pizza, invite us into the opportunity for relationship, to ask, to understand. Just like I taught my social justice students, I think there's value in relationship, and there's asking, and there's understanding, and I think we could use a little more of that in the world.
We're 2 for 2. So don't ever tell us that you don't have a good topic for PechaKucha, because Carly just talked about how she didn't know what to talk about. And it was awesome. Also, Coda is the most amazing dog. It wasn't right that I didn't say enough about Coda. I apologize to all of you. Mary, are you ready? No. Doesn't matter. Mary Shananda Gayen. The title of her presentation is Issa Trini. I just said Trina. Trini. Like Trinidad. Man, this always happens to somebody. Born and raised in the diverse country of India, Mary is not a doctor or an engineer, although she almost did become one, but was saved. However, she can cook a mean Indian meal, and she did succumb to the stereotype of being in school for the longest time and getting an A. And that is 3 master's degrees for you. That's right. She lived in the happiest place, aka Trinidad and Tobago, for almost 5 years prior to moving to Berrien Springs in 2017. Mary claims to be a Trini to the bone.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mary.
Well, shout out to the 2 people that went before me. Great job. You set that standard so high. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll try. All right. Yes. I know. All right, so Issa Trini is a colloquial way of saying I am a Trinidadian, right? But you just heard what Nathan said, that I was born and raised in India, right? And like he said, I am a disappointment to my culture. Yes, or I'd like to say I was allowed to dream a little. And you know, I had people who believed in me, like my parents, just the 2 people. And literally. And I was allowed to dream, and so here I am. I'm an evaluator and a social worker for health equity with Spectrum Health Lakeland, and I love my job. Yes, shout out to Siobhan, yes. So this here is a cultural genogram. Don't I sound smart? This kind of tells you, gives you an idea of where I've been, what I've been, and how I was shaped as a person. And today I'm here to tell you how a little island in the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago, gave my soul all the joy it needed. The soul that was always intelligent, compassionate, and all that good stuff, but it just jolted me and said, you know what? There's more to you than just being, getting those A's and completing all your degrees. This is a little, Trinidad and Tobago for you from through my lens. This is the flag of Trinidad, vibrant, just as the country. And it's 2 islands separated by water because it's in the Caribbean, so yes. And I want to talk to you about how these 2 little spaces gave me joy, right? So let me start with history. Here are my cousins. I'm kidding, they're not. We stood up for a picture years ago when slavery ended, and thank God for that. And but we were still colonized. India and Trinidad were both colonized. So the Britishers said that we needed indentured laborers, right, to work in the sugarcane fields. And they brought my cousins from India. And I want to say that God is a Trini. You all better remember that because he changed my life, and that's what God does, right? And he also has a driver's license, so he's legal in Trinidad and Tobago. So, yeah, so I want to tell you a little more about what it has, right? So Trinidad is beautiful. Have you all ever been to the Caribbean? Anyone? Yes? Okay. You know it has Trinidad. It has beaches. It has sun, sand, mountains. Everything that you want. You can wake up one day and look at the mountains, the next day you look at the beaches, and the next day you look at the beautiful looking people like me in Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad also has good food, right? Because of the culture. I said you have a great Afro-Trini population, you have a great Afro-Indo population because of colonization. And so the food is, you probably eat your fingers while you're eating Trinidadian food. So yeah, and that's me with the blue skies, in case you're wondering, because I have nothing to say on this slide. Seriously. And that's the food. This is Palau, and that's doubles. That is Indo-Trini, and this is Afro-Trini. So you can pick whatever you want. Now, I am talking about the food and the place because I want to just give you a flavor of what Trinidad is about. But as we go on, I want to tell you where that joy came from, right? I got to Trinidad let me just talk about Carnival. Don't forget this. If you love to party, you need to go to Trinidad and soca music. Highly recommend, okay? Highly recommend. So, and of course that's me at a few parties. Don't tell my parents. My dad's a pastor, just saying. Okay. This is gonna be on air, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. Anyway, so what gave me joy, right? What jolted my soul as I moved to Trinidad and Tobago in 2012. I am from India, but if you lived in India and you see the way the kind of person that I am, I was never able to fit in, right? Because I wasn't light-skinned enough, or I didn't have the perfect nose. But when I went to Trinidad, I was Indian enough. I was never too much of an Indian. I was never too less of an Indian. I walked into a room and, my people would just be like, yo, Indian. And I was like, yes, that's me. So I was just Indian enough, and I was happy to be that person. In Trinidad, you could laugh out loud, and nobody's going to turn around and say, you were too loud. Because that's what the Caribbean does to you. It lets your soul laugh. And it lets your soul laugh out so loud till you fall on the floor. Because maybe, potentially, you could be drunk. I don't know. But you are allowed to do that. And I don't like cats, just saying. In Trinidad is the first time I ever heard someone say, you're pretty. And ain't I pretty? Yeah. Thank you. Never did that in my life. Because, again, in Trinidad, I was enough, right? I was Indian enough. I could laugh out loud and still nobody would tell me that I wasn't behaving like a woman. So, I was pretty enough because my skin and my nose and my hair was okay in Trinidad. The first time ever, I wore red lipstick because you know what, in India, I was told that my skin is too brown for the bright colors. Don't ever do that. It's never going to work for you. But in Trinidad, I was like, I could wear red lipstick and walk out and everyone would be like, girl, that's good for you. You wear red, you wear pink, you wear whatever. I could chop off my hair because you know what? My face was not too big enough to carry out that hairstyle in Trinidad. My face was the perfect size to carry out that hairstyle. And didn't I look fine or what? Yes. Tell me. Okay. And I know that these things sound superficial and they're like, yeah, okay, great, Trinidad accepted you like that. But what was important was Trinidad accepted my soul. When I landed in 2012 at the PechaKucha International Airport, Trinidad spread her arms wide open and said, girl, welcome home. This is your place, and this is always going to be your place. Because in Trinidad, Mary, was just enough. I didn't have to have my hair done a certain way. I didn't have to lose 10 pounds. I didn't have to do nothing. Because you know what? Trinidad said, we accept you. You're just enough. And we love you for that. Trinidad said to me, you belong here. And you always will belong here. Because you know what? We're never going to other you. You could be Afro Trini, you could be Indo Trini, you could be whatever you want to be. But you will belong here and never be othered here. And to me, this is very important because as a 25-year-old, yes, I'm 34, not married, expired goods according to my culture, but I'm here. Yeah, just saying. You know, I never was enough, right? But here I am as a 25-year-old finding out that there is a place on this earth where I was just enough, where I was just accepted. So all my life, today, and tomorrow, and till I die, I hope I'm 100 when I die, I will always and forever be a Trini. I want to leave you all with this little piece of music so it could jolt your soul too. You can stand up and dance with it. Thank you.
That was awesome. Yeah. Let's hear it for Trinidad. Isn't she beautiful? I want to go on stage and say that. Aren't I beautiful? It was less enthusiastic, that's fine. How you doing there, Reniko?
Good.
Great. Okay. Maybe we can blast some of that music during the beer break.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see. I don't want to, that's Chris's department. I don't want to get your hopes up. Jake Zapor is next. The title of his presentation is It Gets Better. Jake is awesome. He's an amazing artist and teacher and a very influential influencer. Yeah, he's got twice as many followers as you. Please welcome Jake.
I don't know where to put this.
Oh, look at that.
That works. Okay, let's get your expectations lowered. Okay, please. Everybody's done really well, and I misunderstood the assignment, so. Okay, but I'm ready, thank you. Okay, so I'm starting off by telling you that when I was a kid in school, I was bullied. Really, really badly. And I won't talk about it too much, but it was really traumatic, and I was mostly bullied because I was gay, and it was the early 2000s. But on top of that, I was just a really anxious kid, a really anxious person. So I had a lot of trouble interacting with my peers, and I had a lot of trouble talking to adults, which was a big hindrance because it made it really difficult for my teachers to understand me because I had zero ability to ask for help from them. And so my teachers didn't really know how to help me. Some of them kind of bullied me too because I was weird and quiet. But one of my teachers, Mrs. Rabine, that's her, she was my art teacher, she made a huge difference in my life. She saw something in me when I was a teenager that I didn't see. I think because I was bullied so badly, I never felt like I could be good at anything, but she made me feel like I did do good things, that I could be good at something. I could be good at art, which gave me this confidence that sort of like permeated everything. I started doing better in school overall. I started making friends. It was a really big turning point for me. So in addition to learning all about art from her, I learned how powerful and impactful a teacher could be. And when I was in college figuring out what I wanted to do, I think it's no surprise that I went into education and I became an art teacher. I went to college for art and teaching. So I did 2 years of community college, and then I went to the University of Toledo in Ohio, which is right there. Yay! And I was never really a high-achieving student, but in college I did really well, so I think it just goes to show how much bullying can affect you. Affected my grades, affected my possibilities colleges I could get into, my success later in life. But I graduated. I got a job right out of college as a 6th grade through 12th grade art teacher and moved over to this side of the state, which was amazing. But teaching was also really, really hard. I love working with students. These are some of the first students I ever had. And I love working with students, but being a teacher right now is really difficult for a whole lot of reasons. And once I started teaching, I realized how easy it is for teachers to let students sort of slip through the cracks because you're so overworked. You have so much on your plate as a teacher. Plus, being an out gay teacher in Southwest Michigan was a lot harder than I thought it would be. It's probably harder than you even might think it would be. It was really difficult. So on top of all the teacher-related stress, I dealt with some blatant homophobia, microaggressions every day, constantly, and administrators who had literally zero idea of how to help me. So after 2 years of teaching, I made the decision that I needed to do something else. So I decided to go to grad school, part-time, while still working, to earn my MFA to open up some more options for myself. So I did classes online during the regular school year at MassArt, and I did classes in person in Boston during the summers, which was really amazing. It was really life-changing. My peers were people from all over the world, so I was exposed to different ideas, different people from different backgrounds, different kinds of artwork. I was exposed to new ways of thinking, and a lot of introspection at this time. Because I think in a lot of ways, even as an adult, I still kind of had a lot of trauma from being so bullied as a kid. But grad school, the learning, the experience, the people I was with in grad school, it gave me a lot of confidence. It sort of broke me down and rebuilt me in a way. And then I think I came through it with a confidence that I never had before. Everyone in my life would tell you that I changed a lot in that period of time. So it was really good overall. The program basically leads up to this big exciting final summer semester where you meet artists and curators and you have an exhibition of your work at one of the largest contemporary art museums in America at Mass MoCA. So I was super excited, but unfortunately, that was the summer of 2020. So I learned how to use Zoom. Instead of that, had a final semester, a virtual exhibition, which was fine, but I was obviously extremely disappointed because instead of meeting artists and curators, I was learning how to take and edit pictures of my artwork at home, and I had to take like online elective classes to make up the credits, so I had to take a video editing class, which I did not want to take, but actually helped me later, which we'll get to. So I missed out on a lot of experiences that I was expecting, but I did graduate and took pictures in my backyard, which was so fun, actually. Wow. But sad part is that there were basically no job options for me with this degree I had. But I did end up taking a job at a different local high school, which ended up being the best decision ever. I still currently work there and I love it. It's a great atmosphere. And when I left that other school, I talked a lot about how the environment is part of why I wanted to quit. They started an LGBTQ plus student group over there. They're making an effort to improve, so that's great. Yeah. Good job, then. After taking that video editing class, I started making a lot of short videos and then posting them on TikTok. After a little while, I made a video basically telling this story that I'm telling you guys, but with music. No dancing, I don't dance. And that video went viral, and I got 150,000 followers like in a few weeks. And I continued to make more videos about a lot of different things. Now I have a lot more. I've made a lot of videos about being part of the LGBTQ plus community, videos about making art. Now I have over 500,000 followers, more than Kelly Clarkson. Just saying. Kelly could never. So as an artist, it's really amazing that I have this massive platform to show my artwork. But the thing that I didn't expect and that I'm most proud of is that I get to be a role model for young LGBTQ plus people all across the world, like Isabel. And as an artist, oops, sorry, I went backwards in my notes. So I've made like Q&A videos about LGBTQ plus issues, like how to come out safely, or like legal advice for what to do at your school if your school is discriminating against you, things like that. And I'm currently working with the It Gets Better project, providing grants to schools with an aim to support projects that prioritize the empowerment and well-being of LGBTQ plus youth, which is super cool. So I went from being a really troubled, sad kid to someone who uplifts troubled and sad kids. Oh, and this is my LGBTQ plus student group at the school I currently work at. We passed out Halloween candy from our Pride car this last Halloween, which is something that never would have happened when I was in school, and so it's sort of amazing that we were able to do that. I guess ultimately, I hope that I can show kids and people in general that it gets better, and you can take some of the negative things in your life and kind of turn them around and do something meaningful and hopefully powerful.
Take that, Kelly Clarkson. That was beautiful. Thank you, Jake. Now we have one more before the beer break, and this is a random slides. So we've done this a few times in the past, and it's the person who's about to present has no idea what they're presenting about. Okay. And I had the honor this time of creating the slideshow for Matthew. I work with Matthew at the Krasl Art Center, so I have, and I talked to his partner Jake, and I got a few ideas of what might be some good themes for his PechaKucha. But yeah, he's never seen it. He has no idea. He's got a lot of good life experience to draw from. He's got a lot of confidence. I'd say that's required. So good luck, Matthew. And I'm going to give you a little bio because he wrote a very nice bio for me. It says, Matthew Bizoe is a proud gay millennial, PechaKucha organizer, and the marketing manager for Krasl Art Center. He loves his dog. We all love his dog. Husband, the beach, crocheting, swimming, the Olympics, public speaking, art, and travel. And he really hopes his coworker and fellow PK organizer, Nathan, that's me, put some of that in tonight's PowerPoint. Just like this random slides presentation, Matthew has had some unexpected turns in his story, which he will now tie into the photos we are all about to see for the first time. Please welcome Matthew Bizoe.
Thanks, buddy. So you guys ready for this journey I'm about to go on with me? It's gonna be great. Okay, let's do it, Lana. So crochet. I am a crocheter. If you couldn't tell from the crown on my head, yes, I did make it. So when I learned how to crochet, I was a very tiny little boy. When I was little, I was pretty eccentric. I was very much the kind of person who was always in your face, always wanting to talk, always wanting to sing. I remember, my parents are here, they can test. I made a song up about mermaids once, right? So I always had these interests when I was little, including, I don't remember this movie. What's this movie called? The Labyrinth, thank you. I love this movie so much. I was so into magic and whimsy and really finding things that kind of were a little odd and kind of stood out. And kind of that's always been something that I've really ingrained into myself. I haven't made a granny square yet, but I did learn how to crochet from my grandmother, my step-grandmother, actually. She taught me how when I was about 7, and I remember being so scared to ask her to do it at 7. At 7, this little boy who loved magic, who loved octopus. I literally, you can't see, I don't know if you can see from the back, but I literally have a rainbow octopus on my chest right now. I have an octopus tattooed on my leg. It's super, I'm really into some weird stuff. But I always have felt this kind of weird shame about it, right? I'm this really tall, eccentric, over that. It's not that big, but I have a big tattoo, but I like big, weird things. And when... Get out of there, you guys! Come on, this is a family show. So... I've always felt this weird sort of oh my gosh, am I supposed to like giant octopus? Am I supposed to like Jar Jar Binks on my back? That's not my back. Although I do like Star Wars too. But with all of these things, I've kind of always led myself back to questioning, should I like this? Is this something I should be? Should I like men? I don't know. I don't want to get beat up. I don't want to be Matthew Shepard, the other Matthew person who passed. When I started losing my hair, I really looked into, because if you can't tell, I have lost all my hair. I shave it though, it's a choice. But there was always these shames around how do you exist in the world? How do you go out there and present yourself to people in a way that you're gonna be well received? I'm to be married to such an awesome person like Jake. Where did you get this photo? God, Nathan really did some digging here. So this is the Cone of Shame from a board game. Exploding Kittens, thank you. Very fun board game from the Oatmeal. And I did have hair once upon a time, you can see. So I've kind of felt like this guy a lot on the outside, on the inside, not on the outside. Gosh, if I feel like that on the outside, please stop me. But you know, you kind of have these like angers about yourself, or these things that you are just so drawn to, and you can't really explain why, but you just know that like, I want that weird glitter shoe. I want to go visit Stonehenge in a crochet sweater. I actually do. I've started making sweaters. They're really warm. And what I have really learned, certainly being in this community and working at my time in the arts and with creative souls, and even tonight with such great presenters, is like, it doesn't really matter. Like, you can really be whoever you want. I did have a Beanie Baby collection. Did I have these? I had most of the ones on here, actually, too. I also got those from the grandma who taught me how to crochet. So when you have all of these such weird, or maybe interests that you think are weird, I think what the beauty of PechaKucha is that it shows you that those stories are so valid, and you can be so seen. This is my dog. He's really cute. But I'm glad you picked this photo, Nathan, because like making that crown, that was one of the first days of the pandemic. And I was so unsure, like the rest of us, of what was going to happen. And that's actually, this time of uncertainty really showed me, like, I got to do some weird stuff. I got to paint my dog. Not yet, though. Just wait until Halloween. We have ideas. So with all of those, I've learned to kind of embrace those things that make me stand out and feel different and feel shameful. And like, certainly, like, there's still experiences that still kind of bring those feelings. Man, this is a cute dog. I love cheeseburgers. So when you're trying to embrace those things you love and you want to have this feeling in yourself, you just got to look into like what really makes you happy and just try it out. Like this crown that I'm wearing right now. I made that paper crown at the beginning of the pandemic. I ate a lot of cheeseburgers over the pandemic and like feel like these dogs a couple of times. But like, ultimately, this is the experience that I'm walking. It's the experience that someone is going to be able to learn from tonight. Maybe you're not here tonight. Maybe you're watching later in a couple of weeks. But your story that you have is going to be so powerful to someone. And it's going to be something that people can relate to. I don't know about this one, guys. I don't know how to tie this one in. I had a point that I was trying to get to. I like fishing, too. That's another kind of a random interest. Thank you, Dad. We would grow up fishing in Niles all the time. I will probably crochet. I have crocheted an octopus scarf, actually, for that guy back there. It's very pretty. And I will probably crochet a fish at some point in my life, too. Probably not that fish. That's a gay fish. So, oh gosh, we don't even know what slide we're at. So when you're out there and you're feeling like, hey, this is a weird thing that I like, should I try something with it? Do it. Because like, since I've started crocheting like weird crowns and stuff like this, Maryland man receives heart transplant from a pig. Good. Good for him. Good for her. So if you find you need a heart transplant, I'll crochet you one. And I don't care. I don't think it'll work. No, no money back guarantee there. So find those things that that spark joy. Find those things that make you feel like the kids in this photo that you can sink your teeth into and just like get a little obsessed over it. Get a little weird. We're all a little weird, so like lean into that. And you're gonna be able to find just like this acceptance, or what I have found from doing that is like I feel much more comfortable in the skin that I have. I love this art. Do not make that noise, people. Currently I have a crochet art piece on view at Crazzle, and it has really sparked. I'm like, I want to make weird stuff. Because like Nathan makes some really cool, weird stuff too, and being around these people who can really just let their freak flag fly, can realize that you've got one too, and it's good. Thank you.
off. It's called a round off.
Okay.
All right, James Gunter is our next presenter. He had a partner, the wonderful John Sams, but he's out sick today. So James is, but he's a one-man show. He can do it. He'll be fine. If you want to give him a little extra support, that's fine. I'm sure he wouldn't mind. But the title of their presentation is For Us, By Us. James Gunter and John Sams founded Present Pillars in July 2021. Initially, the conversation was around their individual struggles with fatherhood. As it progressed, they began to notice that there wasn't a lot of support for black fathers in their hometown of Benton Harbor, Michigan. So the two began to flesh out what we now know as the Present Pillars. So please welcome James Gunter.
Hey everybody. All right, I'm ready. All right, so Black Father, and looking at this photo, these words, a lot of people will have certain things that come to mind immediately, right? Or we all have implicit bias, we all have thoughts about certain things. So I just want you to think about, what do you think when you see this, right? So, my father, my black father, he was born in St. Mary, Port Maria, Jamaica. So he actually ended up coming to the States by way of Florida, working his way to Virginia, then West Virginia, then finally to Michigan, where he met my mom. Well, actually, before he met my mom, he actually had my oldest sister, and then met my mom, and then the five of us came. So, actually, I think it's coming up here. Here he is, right? All right, yeah, so this is actually my older brother, my younger sister, myself, and my older sister. And my father, from the beginning, he was always present. And that's kind of how we came up with that word, present pillars, right? Just being present is always the first step. So then he comes to barriers, right? As I said, my dad immigrated from Jamaica. Initially, he wasn't a citizen. So after all of us were here, my dad still was fighting for his citizenship. So Congressman Upton actually ended up helping my father gain his citizenship. And he was a green card holder for a very long time. So after all of those barriers, right, my dad did something that all dads should do, right? Can anybody guess what that is? Nobody? Somebody. Nobody? He stayed present, right? So growing up with my dad, it was a lot like, people have the rumor or stereotype about Jamaicans that we have 3 jobs, right? It's actually true, I have 3 right now. But my dad took us to work with him. We learned the value of hard work. And actually over his time in America, he was able to build a really good life for himself. So then that led to me, and this is the start of my journey in fatherhood. This is my beautiful girlfriend, LaQuinta. So, boy meets girl, of course. What comes next? So then starts the story of me becoming a father. This happened August 2019 is when my girlfriend told me she was pregnant. I was actually in Indiana. I was the site director for a Boys and Girls Club in South Bend. So I ended up moving back to Florida. And, you know, you can see. And then April 2020, my daughter was born. Her name is Lennox. And that's when I started to see, like, wow, this is really no joke. Fatherhood is like, whoa. So dealing with fatherhood, the pandemic, moving back to Florida, starting a new job, dealing with just the norms of really, honestly, being a black man in America. Just blowing my mind all at once. Not to mention my dad had just suffered a stroke and I'm just going through a lot, right? So then we start to come back to the barriers, right? And I'm thinking in my head, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, so this is actually a book that my partner John wrote. It's a guide to fatherhood. It's really good. I would suggest anyone read it. But this is something that I feel that a lot of fathers come to the realization of, like, I just don't know what I'm doing. Like, what am I doing here, right? So just breaking it down, and like I said before, the first step is presence. Because a lot of times we get into the financial aspect of it and we feel like we have to buy all these things and we have to do all these things and I have to make this amount of money, or, you know, I have to live in this type of house or my kids won't have enough, right? But it's not true, right? There's so many kids that live great lives and are happy just based on presence, right? And then the next step is asking for help. When you need help, ask for help. A lot of times, as John would say, we never get past surface level conversations as men. We'll talk about women, we'll talk about sports, we'll talk about all of these things, but the answer to your prayers could be sitting right next to you. Very, very true, right? So then we come back to barriers. As a black man, we know that even in Michigan, 14% of the population of Michigan is black. 53% of the prison population is black, right? That's a huge difference. And that's just the beginning, right? So now we start to pay attention to that. We start to pay attention to health disparities, right? The CDC says that black men lead the country in lung cancer, AIDS and HIV. I'm sorry, I'm moving the mic. And plenty of other things, right? So then we start to think about our mental health and the things that we don't say, the things we hold in, the things that affect us to the level that sometimes we stop being present, which is step one. So mental health to me amounts to self-care. It amounts to just, like I said before, just saying, hey man, I need help, or I need a break, or I don't know. Like, sometimes I just don't know. But then wealth, right? Berrien County released stats that say that the median income in Benton Harbor alone is $21,000, a little bit over $21,000. Wow, $21,000. So what kind of father in your head can you be based on $21,000, right? And that's the household income. So then it's fellowship. Fellowship to me means that there are other people that are going through the same barriers that I'm going through, same situations I'm going through, and we can learn to lean on each other. So, at the end, black fathers are vital. Thank you.
Thank you, James. That's so important. And yeah, dudes don't talk about stuff. We need to do that. And I want to check out that book. What a great title.
Say it.
As Matthew said, this is a family program. Our next presenter, we don't do this very often. She's a return presenter. She's been here before, and she talked about a trip to India where she met Mother Teresa. It was a fantastic story. And today she's here to talk about another trip to India and another famous encounter. And this time with a person that she admires for his endeavor to unite all people in the world. This is Nicole Pierard-D'herde, and the title of her presentation is Away from Home. She's a little nervous, so please welcome Nicole.
Hi. I'm not from Michigan.
Wait, the microphone.
Okay.
Down for you. Is that good?
Yeah. I'm okay.
Do you need it more lowered?
Lower. Yeah.
Oh man, where are my mic skills?
trouble. Oh la la.
How's that feel?
Okay, I'm fine. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I think of myself as an artist, a French teacher, and a big mouth, with crazy idea, like volunteering to Calcutta and work with Mother Teresa. Following the whole Tour de France on my motor scooter. Finding myself in another PechaKucha. Like you, Nathan. Following the Lake Effect Jazz everywhere they go. Okay. So here I am with another story, another crazy adventure that I did. Lena?
Yeah.
Okay,
Ready?
can start, yeah. I have always wanted to meet people that I admire and see stronger than me. I always needed to feel helpful. So I traveled to India and worked with Mother Teresa in Calcutta and in a Tibetan refugee camp in Bodh Gaya. The invasion of Tibet started in 1950. The Chinese called it a peaceful liberation. Troops from China occupied the sacred temple of Buddhist monk and home of the Dalai Lama. By 1959, the peaceful liberation led to more than 150,000 refugees fleeing Tibet for India. In danger of being to prison, the Dalai Lama immigrated. The pilgrimage to Bodh Gaya brings people from all over the world, including children. Tibetan Children Village, founded in 1960, is a community for care and education of orphans and refugees. Tibetan refugees have not changed their custom in any way. They still enjoy butter tea, barley flour, yak meat. News spread that the Dalai Lama would visit the refugee camp in Bodh Gaya, where I was working as a volunteer. He would come to offer a word of encouragement to his people who had suffered so much for so long. Bodh Gaya is one of the most important Buddhist pilgrimage places. Buddhist monks chant, meditate, worship, and walk around the stupa as a sign of respect for the Buddha. Tibetan prayers say, "May you be at peace. May your heart remain open. May you awake to the light of your true nature. May you be a source of healing for all beings." The daily routine of a monk is rigid. They wake up at 4 for meditation and chanting, breakfast at 6. Then they meet with the local people to accept offerings. They provide courses like science and math. At noon, they eat lunch as the last meal of the day. Later, they study Buddhism, meditate, and pray. Buddha stated that women are capable of reaching nirvana and are equal to men. Women can also become a monk. Prayer wheels are used to accumulate good karma, purge bad karma and negativity. Practitioners turn the wheel, focus on their mind, and repeat the Om Mani Padme Om mantra. In Bodh Gaya, one finds the tree of awakening under which Gautama sat for 7 weeks before becoming the Buddha. This tree still exists, but is decayed. In 1881, a new tree was planted in the same location. Buddha was born an aristocrat in Nepal around 500 BC. He was a teacher who taught that wisdom, generosity, compassion, and kindness were worthy virtue. He died in his 80s and was cremated in India. The Mahabodhi temple is an important holy site dedicated to the life of Buddha. The temple was first built around the 2nd century AD. Over the years, it has been restored on several occasions. All around the temple, sacred banners float. Their color represent air, fire, water, earth, and wind direction. Banners should never be still, and they emit positive vibration carrying away like silent prayer. The Red Cross, a neutral organization, was present in Bodh Gaya to offer medical support to the refugee. As with Doctors Without Borders previously, I was able to be part of their team and help treat the refugees. Back in Tibet, the Potala was the winter palace of the Dalai Lama. From 1649 to 1959, and is located next to the old city of Lhasa. It's a second place called the Peak by the Tibetan. Will the refugee ever return to Tibet? Will they ever see the roof of the world again? Will they ever be able to practice their ideology? Will the 14th Dalai Lama have a successor? His successor is still uncertain. The selection will be a religious and political decision. And as China has already ascertained its right to choose the next Dalai Lama. Tenzin Gyatso, born in 1935, became Dalai Lama at the age of 4. I was impressed by his kindness, simplicity, and compassion. I close with one of his quotes, my favorite: know the rules well, so you can break them efficiently.
Oh, by the way, thank you, Nicole. That was amazing. Know the rules so you can break them efficiently. That's a good one. Jessica Hightower is next, and the title of her presentation is Are You the Artist? Jessica Hightower is an artist and professional graphic designer, born and raised in Benton Harbor, Michigan. She has been painting for many years, but she turned to this art form in 2020 to express herself boldly with the My Color is Beautiful collection. Her paintings reflect the beauty of people of color, not just the tones of their skin, but the expression of their auras. Using color, facial expressions, and hand gestures to convey emotion in her painting, Jessica really wants the audience to connect with her art, to be able to come up with a story of their own. Please welcome Jessica Hightower.
Hey. Hi, I'm Jessica Hightower, the artist. And yes, you have to say the artist behind it. Try it out with me. When I say I'm Jessica Hightower and point the mic to you, you say the artist. So I'm Jessica Hightower. The artist. Awesome. So why do I introduce myself that way? So last summer, as I showed my art at many of the local art fairs, and I stood behind my table full of all of my art prints. Behind me, a wall covered with my paintings and a sign on my table that read Jessica Hightower Art. Someone would always walk up to me and ask, even while I'm standing alone, "Are you the artist?" Now, I thought in my head that this is obvious, but I would always reply, "Yes, I am Jessica Hightower, the artist." People would ask other questions, of course. They may ask next, "Wow, you must love using color," which you'll get one or two answers from me. Either, "Yes, I love using color," or "I love color. Color theory means different things. It can provoke different feelings and emotions in different people." If you ever got the first answer from me, I'm sorry, I must have been tired. But the second is closer to the complete truth. See, when I started painting like this, I had watched a video on auras, and I haven't looked super far into it or anything, but I love the ideas of our souls radiating colors and changing like a mood ring. So a mix of that with color theory would be more close to complete truth. But usually people, when they ask that, they just want something to say before they move on. You know, that happens. Then someone else will come up to my tent looking curious, and I'll put on my best smile and say, "Hi, how are you doing today?" And they'll reply, "Good," and look at me and, you know, like, "Are you the artist?" And I'll reply, "Yes, I am Jessica Hightower, the artist." And then they'll say, "So how long have you been doing this?" Now, what they mean when they say how long I've been doing this is usually like, how long have I been painting or how long have I been doing art? And the answer I usually give is all my life, but I got more serious in 2020. But the answer is much longer than that in reality. So when I was a young child, my parents gave me paints and I fell in love with it. I didn't gravitate towards toys much unless they were on the creative side. And when I was in school, I excelled in art classes. And I still remember all of my art teachers' names because I loved them for what they taught me. In college, I chose to pursue graphic design because I could still be creative, but have a more regular income. I worked as a designer until March of 2020. Then, well, there was a time I was doing nothing. There was a great pause, a time I could do anything. And then I decided I would do something I love, art. I started off with a few paintings and called a local gallery owner, friend of mine, and I just wanted to see if what I was doing was any good. And next thing I know, she's asking for 10 more paintings, and can you please be the featured artist for Black History Month? And then on, the way things moved for me, it almost seemed like it was God ordained. Like I didn't need to look for what I wanted or needed. Each opportunity just started to come to me. I was asked to do commissions. People reached out to me to be a part of their art fairs and gallery shows, and then later to teach. And it all happened in a very short time for me, just from November 2020 to now. But that's a very long thing to say to someone, so you'll probably just get the Cliff Notes versions from me if you come up to me at an art fair. And then that person would probably say something like, "Oh, that's nice work." And before they move on, at least they didn't say, you know, "Good luck with that. That's absolutely the worst thing you can ever say to artists." Anyway, somebody else usually walks straight up to my tent and says something like, I just love your art. It's so bright and colorful. I was just drawn to it. Are you the artist? And I would say, yes, I am Jessica Hightower, the artist. And then they'll point to a random painting and be like, so what inspired this one? Now, I get that question a lot, but truth is, not all my paintings have individual meanings. But they all are inspired by one larger thing for me. In short, I want you to see what I see. I see the beauty and colorful boldness in Black people every day. Our joys and strengths, the stories that can be told with our expressions, how with those expressions and the colors that I use and body language, that anyone can relate to the people in my paintings. And if you can relate to the people in my paintings, you can see what I see, how wonderfully beautiful people of color are. But this person isn't asking about my work as a whole. They're probably just asking about this one painting. And this is my Black superhero, like Dr. Manhattan. I was playing with perspective. I wanted him to look like he was reaching out of the painting and coming to save someone. Now, hopefully this time someone buys a print before they move on. You know, it'd be nice. So, why do I introduce myself this way? Because last summer, as I showed my art at many of the art fairs and events, standing behind my table with all my prints on it and my paintings hung behind me and my sign that read Jessica Hightower Art, not to mention the business cards and everything else that has my name on it, I would get asked the same questions. Some about colors, how did I start, what is your inspiration? But the question I got asked the most is, are you the artist? And I will always happily reply, yes, I am Jessica Hightower. Yes. Thank you so much for letting me present to you and introduce myself and my art.
Thank you, Jessica. Thanks for sharing your work. I'm an artist myself, and I still ask artists at art fairs those dumb questions. We're down to our last presenter. Are you sad? Yeah. Okay. It'll be okay. We do this like 3 or 4 times a year, so you can come back. There will be more. But our final presenter, she just decided to do this like a week ago. So thank you, Tariro Mutindori. The title of her presentation is Growing Pains, and she's going to talk to us about how our bodies change as we get older and how that affected her as a first-time bridesmaid. Right? I think I've said enough, but she knew she couldn't fit her dress months in advance, but she refused to get a different size because she thought if she exercised regularly for a few months, she'd be fine. That blew up in her face. Am I giving away your PechaKucha? Anyways, it's written here, okay? It's not my fault. But please welcome Tariro.
I didn't realize they were going to read the whole description. That's basically the story, so that's okay. Join me on this wild journey because I go on journeys quite a bit and have a lot of crazy stories to tell. So in undergrad, I was in Florida and I met this awesome girl named Karen Rason. And me and Karen, we instantly just clicked, Karen was a lot of fun. She liked to go on adventures. I'm kind of a homebody, but she really pushed me out of the box. And I really appreciate her for that. And so Karen and I, we would do a lot of ministry together as well. But one thing that I really enjoyed when I was young, I didn't really go to slumber parties. My mom didn't let me go to slumber parties because she said, you don't know what goes on in people's homes. You don't know if somebody will sell you, on the black market, or if somebody will give you up to all this kind of stuff. So I never got to go to slumber parties. But I'm in undergrad, I'm grown, I can go to slumber parties. So me and Karen would have slumber parties, and this is a picture we took on her bunk bed. And it was a twin bunk bed. Like, it was the top bunk, but there was no bottom bunk. It's an interesting situation. Top bunk, no bottom bunk, but she had a TV and like a couch at the bottom. So I would try to squeeze into the top bunk. So I moved from the Sunshine State of Florida, which is where we were after undergrad, and I came here to Andrews University in Michigan, of course, and my homegirl got engaged, and I was so happy for her because she was, the first friend that I had really that was engaged. We just finished undergrad. I mean, a lot of people were still getting married then anyway, but still. Not a lot of my friends. So me and her got on the phone with Kiki and happy. I'm like, oh, I'm just assuming, since we're really good friends, she's gonna ask me to be her bridesmaid. But she never said anything. And so I'm like, okay, I'll just keep waiting. And I don't know the protocol because I'd never been a bridesmaid before. So I'm like, I don't think I should ask. I should kind of wait for her. And so I went to Florida. This was right before the polar vortex that we had. Oh, Lord. So I went to Florida. And she did this whole thing, and she asked me, and I'm like, I've been waiting. So I was so happy. I'm like, yes, girl, yes, of course I'll be your bridesmaid. Of course I'll stand next to you. So, once you ask your girls to be bridesmaids, now you have to plan. People have to figure out what to wear. I mean, this would have been cool, but that's not what we wore. So we're all figuring out what we're gonna wear, and all the girls came up with the color schemes and whatever. So she asked me in January, and we all had our dresses picked out and delivered by July. And so my dress came in July. Mind you, the wedding is in December. The dress came in July, and I'm like, oh man, it won't zip up. But that's cool. Sometimes I go with the flow, but I go with the flow too much. And this was not a time to go with the flow. So I'm literally having this back and forth conversation with myself. Like, my dark side is like, girl, you got it, it's fine. You can lose that weight, it's okay, it's good. And then the more reasonable side is thinking, don't do it, please don't do it. You're gonna put yourself in a bad situation. But my dark side is like, take the chance, you'll be fine. It's July, December, you can make it. So I said, okay, you know what? I'll go to the gym. I have time, I'll go to the gym. So I started going to the gym with another one of my good friends who I was with in grad school. So we would go to the gym, we were having a good time. But honestly, was I really that consistent? At the time, it seemed like I was consistent, but December comes around. We all have our makeup on. Y'all, I've been in the gym since July, December. We have our makeup on, we look good, I'm ready. And we start putting on our dresses. Can you believe? Child, I tried to zip up that dress, and that dress would not zip. It literally was like the day in July when I put it on the first time. Nothing had changed. And the girls there were like, what? How does that even happen? Like, so these two girls, Jalene and Priya, literally, all three of us, I'm holding the dress down like this. Priya is holding the dress up at the top. We had to literally just, tight. And Jalene is zipping, like, literally inch by inch. We're like, yes, we got it. And I'm standing here like this because I have to suck it in. And I was sucking it in, but y'all, we got the dress on. We got the dress on, I looked good, I was happy. I didn't ruin my girl's wedding because honestly, I was ready to just sit down. I was like, you know what? I'll just sit in the crowd. I'm not gonna ruin your wedding, it'll be fine. But they did not let me give up. And honestly, even though I looked good, I was very full. It had nothing to do, the dress not fitting had nothing to do with weight. It had everything to do with how I'm just built. You can't get rid of that. So a lot of people walk up to me like, wow, you look so full today. I'm like, what do they mean? Is my stomach bloated? Like, what do you mean? They meant I was a little full here. And so I was spilling out. So I was not very comfortable. And so I really had to sit down and reflect and say, listen, you ended up in this situation, and honestly, it could have been worse. It could have been worse. You know, you don't look, this was me in high school, baby. I was a skinny queen. I said, it's fine that you're not the skinny queen you were in high school. It's okay. You know, you have to love your body no matter what stage it's in. And honestly, COVID has really taught me, child, I don't know if y'all have gained that COVID weight, but I have. And then to make things worse, now my man want to sit here and propose during COVID? I'm like, Lord. So honestly, if I had not gone through this situation and sat down and reflected that I should love my body no matter what stage it's in, I would not be here today now saying, you know what, the dress I tried on that I love, and that's my dream wedding dress, it's okay if I get a bigger size. It's okay, because I want to enjoy my day and I want to look amazing. I don't want to look full. I don't want to look full. And so, from my situation, you know, I'm just like, it's all right. It's all right. Do you. If you're built like a linebacker, it's okay. That is you. Rock that. Love it. Do it. And this is me recently. I'm the biggest I've ever been in my life. Some of y'all might say, oh, you look small, but that's fine. Don't body shame me, okay? I'm the biggest I've ever been in my life, and I am so happy, and I love me.
Can we have all the presenters back to the stage, please? This was such an amazing night. Another round of applause once they all get up here. So if you aren't following us on social media, we are PechaKucha, St. Joseph Ben Harbor on Facebook and Instagram. And please be sure to please follow the Box Factory as well, and Krazzle. But I just want to tell you all that this is PechaKucha Volume 22. All right. Thank you so much for coming out, and we will see you all next time. And tell a friend to be a presenter, okay? Good night.